If you are looking into buying cheap and safe FIFA coins, look no further than footcoinshop.net. They have the fastest service, an incredible loyalty reward system, and the best prices around. Use my creator code Inception when you sign up for your account and get a 5% discount with your order. Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. Guys, I'm sorry that I haven't really been doing too much of the gameplay stuff. I've been sick since the day before the early release of the game. And I have to take breaks in between my videos to kind of push them out because I'm sleeping in between, drinking water, all that kind of stuff because I feel hot, man, you know? But guys, today we're going to be doing the custom tactics formations. First thing that I want to talk about when it comes down to the formations and custom tactics, guys, when it is the beginning of the year, you shouldn't overcomplicate your tactics and instructions except for one formation, because the play style and the way that you attack in this game is very similar to the way that you would in last year's game. Not at the end of the year. This is not the comparison I'm trying to make. Not the end of the year, in the beginning of the year, okay? The breakdown is very similar. The extra pass, the players running through the sides, cutting back, very, very similar, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys the custom tactics that you should line up with when you start off the game, okay? Because it doesn't make sense for you to overcomplicate a tactic for players that are probably not full meta on your team. Even if you have a team that is 100k worth, that's still not really going to be crazy enough for you to really make an advanced tactic just yet, okay? Just food for thought, because you have to play players to their base characteristics. It's a very important thing to mention, okay? So first thing to mention, when you build your initial team, do your best to make a team that has a center mid that can play in the cam position as well as a center mid position. If you can switch between like a 4-1-2-1-2 or a 4-3-1-2, and then you want to rotate to a 4-2-3-1, okay? There's more of a complication if you use a 4-4-2 and you want to do that, unless you have someone like James Madison, right? But it's just food for thought if you're doing your squads initially. Because let's say, for instance, you have this De Bruyne card, because even De Bruyne could do it too, but it depends on the chemistry style that you have for that rotation policy. But a very good example of what I'm talking about initially is going to be, I can never type his name properly. Here we go. It's Bernardo Silva, right? So Bernardo Silva is a slower player, but if you use this card, because the pace is not like crazy, it's not as crazy relevant, okay? It's still nice to have a lengthy like this De Bruyne card has, very, very helpful. But this Bernardo Silva, as like a cheaper option around the 17k area, is a card that can rotate between the cam and the center mid position, right? If you want to switch your formation. So try your best to do that. Like I have De Bruyne, so if I wanted to line up at a 4-2-3-1, even if I don't have that card that can dribble a little bit better, he's still fantastic there. He's a card that plays really well in that position because of the passing, the way that he shoots and stuff. It's great. So just food for thought. Okay, so I'm going to be doing these custom tactics with you guys, okay? Because I'm going to show you guys how you're going to want to line up, right? So you could see that the first tactic that I have lined up with is the 4-3-1-2, okay? When you start off this game, guys, play it to the initial mechanics that you're noticing, okay? So first thing, chance creation, direct passing. I tried the balance and stuff like last year's game. I feel like these guys, they don't move as well without the direct passing. I think it's going to be another year of that again, because it's basically like an updated version of last year's game, right? Like there's been a few changes that have benefited and not benefited in the game, but the direct passing is something that I noticed right off the bat, because here's what I did, right? I started my first game on this game on draft, played a 4-4-2 with a more advanced tactic and instruction just because I'm playing a draft and I have like better players. Didn't work out, lost in the first game, right? And then I was like, I can't do this anymore. Went back to doing this basic stuff and it worked out way better. Now I've won the last 2 drafts that I played, right? So one for the review account and then one for the RTG. So when you start off the game, you can line it up just like this, okay? I would not recommend putting higher corners and free kicks unless you do that corner kick tactic, because some people can actually hit that near post one. There's like that one right now, but you don't want to concede too many counterattacks, okay? Those are like easy goals. You don't want to concede those. Players in the box, you can set this to a 5 or a 6. 6 is a pretty good balance because it's nice to be able to attack a little bit and you don't have to worry too much about the pace, especially if you have certain instructions on your team. You're going to notice the instructions on my team is going to be set up like this, okay? So be very mindful of this. Fullbacks, stay back while attacking. There are situations in game where I'm going to be honest with you guys, where having these guys on overlap is incredibly helpful. That's the one thing I notice in this game, that when I am starting up my attack in the midfield position, the fullbacks overlapping creates that little bit of an extra passing angle, because sometimes when you just keep them on stay back like this, sometimes they don't do the overlap themselves, because a lot of times when I'm building up my play, a lot of the midfield is congested, so I need the fullback to make that extra run in the side position. Now, the only reason why I don't always use overlap is because when you overcommit your fullbacks, it's easy counterattacks for your opponent. And that's the one type of goal that you do not want to concede, because when you lose possession of the ball in the midfield setup, if they go for that same attacking pattern of play where they do the cutback and all that kind of stuff and your players are not in position, it's going to irritate you, okay? So set up your team in a way where the fullbacks, in my opinion, should both be on stay back while attacking as of right now. This is not the same as last year's game where I have like a Camavinga shapeshifter's card and he's a lengthy as a left back, so his lengthy will push him back quickly. No, okay? You're starting off the game right now. Stay back while attacking is going to be the most ideal for your fullbacks. Overlap, not a bad instruction, because there's no spacing, right? Like, where's the space in that area? So very important to mention, especially because of the other instructions that I have. In a formation that's played as a narrow one, you want to keep the middle guy always on stay back while attacking cover center no matter what. If you're playing a CDM position, you could actually use cut passing lane, because cut passing will kind of block the outside of the 18-yard box really nicely to cut out those passing lanes and all that kind of stuff. So switch between the two based off of what you notice your player doing, because sometimes cut passing lane doesn't work for everybody, okay? Sometimes it's better to just use stay back while attacking cover center and let the player do his thing. So it just depends, okay? But a lot of the times cut passing lane will be good. You can't do it for this formation because it's a center mid, okay? But this 4-3-1-2 is actually still pretty solid. So stay back while attacking always for the guy in the middle. I personally recommend you have another center mid in your team that is also stay back while attacking cover center. So they kind of act like two CDMs. But it is really nice to have someone in the sided area that could potentially attack, okay? Now, depending on how you attack, you could actually line this up in a cover center. You don't necessarily have to do the whole cover wing situation and your cam just pushes into the side area, but you don't have to do that, right? So you could do a cover center, but most of the times a cover wing is fine and you kind of let the player do his thing and he'll attack nicely, right? The cam I like to be on balanced. With the whole balance situation, obviously he could free roam, he could defend in the side position. It all depends, right? It's kind of a very similar situation to last year's game with the cams. And then the strikers untouched. Guys, the strikers are untouched for now, but I want you to pay attention to the players that you have in your team, because as you are playing the game, you're going to notice whether or not your player makes consistent runs, or if your player doesn't make consistent runs, if he's more target man oriented. You will notice these mechanics. So sometimes when you have a player like Erling Haaland, it actually makes sense in certain situations of the game, even to start off, to be honest with you, to push the getting behind out of him, okay? Because getting behind on a card like Haaland, he's not only going to get in behind in that central area, he can actually push off to the side position on the getting behind too, because when you're building up your play with your center mids, you need that guy to make that run to open up space, especially for a card like Haaland that has that crazy running animation, get a nice little power shot angle, pretty crazy to work with, right? But guys, you know, I've used a striker like Richarlison and gave him a getting behind, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling this, right? I was playing a draft one time where I had Cody Gakpo in the team, right? So Cody Gakpo's card looks like this. Let me just show you guys. So Cody Gakpo, right? In this draft, I think he had a hunter. I could be wrong, but I think he may have had it, right? So this card, although kind of has like a physical element to him, because he's a taller player at 6'2", my main priority was to get again behind out of the card if I'm playing him in the striker position, because of that physical presence that he offers pushing forward, which you guys will actually see in the highlights. You're going to see that in one of the plays from a lob pass that I end up doing so that I can open up the space for the other players. So you have to notice these things as you are playing the game. Not all instructions will work for every single player. It doesn't work that way. So keep them on balance for now, and then you're going to notice certain characteristics from the individual players that you have, and then you'll switch the instructions based off of what you're noticing, okay? So that's for a 4-3-1-2. We can have Make sure you're ultra attacking. Make sure 100% you still have the whole constant pressure situation, because you get to a point in this game where it's a very similar situation to last year's game where your attacking AI becomes very dumb and your defensive AI becomes very effective when you use the pressure tactics, because you have to get the ball back if people are wasting time. So no matter what, guys, always make sure that you have some crazy tactic depth all the way at 100 if you have to, 80 if you want a little bit more of a balance. And, you know, this is just the tactic to make sure that you get the ball back. Good tactics to use for something like this is like a 3-4-2-1, right? So if you're playing in a 3-4-2-1, it would be like this, right? So 3-4-2-1, right? Because you have the 3 forwards, your left mid, your right mid. The only instructions you would have is you can keep stay back while attacking on these guys, because on stay back while attacking, if you have a card who is high work rated, he will still attack. But the stay back while attacking part is for the whole cut back meta of the game, right? So if you keep these guys on cover center just like that, and you're building up the play with the rest of these guys over here on constant pressure, tactics that are very heavy, it's going to make a lot of sense to do that type of fast build up forward runs. You need to get players pushing forward, okay? So make sure that you always have a tactic that's set up this way as well. Other tactics that you can use. So you can use a 4-1-2-2. Obviously, it's very similar situation to the 4-3-1-2. If you use a formation like this, obviously you would do something like this, right? So your instructions will be stay back while attacking with the option of giving overlap to your fullbacks. Your CDM will be stay back while attacking, cover center. But now that it's a CDM, you could potentially put a cut passing lane on him, okay? So that's a very huge thing that I have to mention, because a cut pass lane can be very helpful. Look, split the opposition and cut out pass lanes. If players are making specific runs just on the edge of that 18-yard box, they're supposed to cover that area, right? So that's where the cut pass lane can be very helpful. So just, again, very important to mention. Again, with the center mid, I prefer to have one guy on stay back while attacking cover center. But guys, I'm telling you this right now, in this year's game, here's what I'm going to mention, okay? If you have a player who is a very good high work rated card or a high medium work rated card on stay back while attacking cover center, they will still play to their base mechanics, but they'll just be a little bit more defensive. So I'll give you guys a very good example. Let's say, for instance, you were to use Kevin De Bruyne's card, right? So for those of you that end up completing the flashback version of his card, this one, and you know, you have him on a controlled lengthy, which I feel like is very beneficial in the new gen version of FIFA because of that extra running animation speed, right? Giving him that pace, defense, and physical capability. This card is still going to attack for you sometimes because he's high medium work rate with the 84 attacking positioning. So just because you have him on stay back while attacking doesn't mean they won't overcommit. And there are certain situations where when you are building up the play, if you have that guy on stay back while attacking, but he has attacking elements, he's still going to pinpoint certain situations where it makes sense for him to make that run. Because even if he's on stay back while attacking, you could still do the mechanic of the player lock where you press your left stick and your right stick in, and you select that player, and then he could just do the run, and then you go ahead and score a nice little opportunity, all right? Or you just tap L1 once, and then you flick your right stick, and he'll make the run anyways, okay? And these are mechanics that I'll teach you guys in the future whenever we do like the attacking tutorial and all that kind of stuff, right? And then again, guys, the rest of the team, man, stay back while attacking for the right center mid, but the rest of it untouched. And then you are going to notice the way that your team performs. Guys, do yourself a really huge favor, okay? Watch the attacking AI of your cam, okay? Because you will score and not score opportunities based off of how good your cam moves across the pitch, okay? Very important to mention. Other tactics. Okay, so these are like the more narrow-oriented formations. You can go with a 4-2-3-1. Right, so let's say, for instance, I were to rock a 4-2-3-1. I'll show you guys exactly how I'd line it up. And again, these are all tactics that you're starting off. Like, look, because you guys probably saw this and you're like, oh, drop back, this, all that stuff. No, balanced, direct passing, 5 or 6. 6 preferably when you first start off, right? And then corners and free kicks set to 1-1. Don't touch too much and just see how your team performs first. And then the other one will be, you know, a 4-2-3-1 or 4-2-3-1. So let's see here. Still a good formation. This one actually has like some pretty proper stuff. I actually like it. Okay, so here's another example, right? So I have James Madison. Okay, so I'll rotate that there, boom, I could play a 4-2-3-1. Do you guys get what I'm saying? It's very important to be able to do this whenever given this situation. Anyways, tactics, same exact thing, right? You go back to balance, 50 for 50, balance on this, direct passing, and then we go back to 6 on that. Instructions, Very similar situation, but I want you to notice one instruction for the CDMs, okay? Very important to mention. Stay back while attacking for your fullbacks. You have the option of overlap as well, right? To provide that extra attacking support depending on the situation. Be mindful of this. Leaving these guys on stay back while attacking is fine, because in game you can use the D-pad. The D-pad, I forget if it's up or down, right? I forget that it might be up or down. It's one or the other. You will see attacking fullbacks. So if you have attacking fullbacks, they will act against that instruction and attack. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Very important to mention this as well. So stay back while attacking or overlap, depending on how you attack against your opponent. Now the CDMs, listen. CDMs start off like this. Use both of them on cup pass lane, stay back while attacking cover center, like this, okay? Guys, as I was mentioning earlier, if you have stay back while attacking on your CDMs, but your formation is rotated like this, and you have someone like De Bruyne playing in that CDM position, he will still sometimes offer you extra attacking support. So having a balance of having a good medium high work rate card on the right side, but then having a player that could potentially attack on the left side is very, very helpful. Okay, very, very helpful. So with that said, let's rotate it back to what it was before. Don't worry about the players that I currently have. This is just a review account for us to kind of try out different cards, right? Okay, so use it like this for now, okay? But I have personally noticed in this game that the CDMs will still sometimes make runs in the sided areas, right? And I noticed this a lot when I was playing a draft one time and I switched Ruben Neves onto the pitch in a 4-2-3-1 for one of those draft videos. You guys can see it in the EA FIFA points video, right? Where we basically explain like how you want to start off your road to glory if you don't have FIFA points. You see this positioning freedom thing here? So there's 3 different instructions, but I find something very interesting. In the CDM position, there's the drift wide one, where it says make runs to wide areas of the pitch. When I have this on default, they still sometimes do that instruction, even if I have them on stay back while attacking. So that's what I'm trying to say. The types of players that you have in your team, watch the way they move, because they will not all move the same way, okay? I noticed this a lot with De Bruyne, and I noticed this a lot with Ruben Neves when I had him in the draft, kind of moving into that side position, which, gonna be honest with you, I actually liked, because it offers me extra attacking support whenever I need to push forward, right? So just food for thought. It's a very underrated instruction in certain situations, depending on how the rest of your team lines up. But for now, stay back while attacking, cover center, cut pass lane. You can also turn off cut pass lane if you want to, okay? You could totally turn that off. Your cam, I never touch the cam. I personally will always say this to you guys. I don't like touching the cam because you need to let the cam do whatever he wants to do, okay? But you need to have a proper one there. James Maddison is a cheaper option you can put there. Even just the rare gold card if you guys don't have the player of the month. Bernardo Silva, like those types of guys, you can play there, okay? And you can rotate them between narrow and a wide formation. Like, well, this is still narrow, but it's a wider formation compared to the other ones. Okay, your sided position players. There's 2 instructions that you will usually use or won't use, okay? The 2 instructions is come back in defense, get into the box. That is going to be very situational in game and based off of player characteristics that you are noticing with your team, okay? Get into the box for the cross is not necessarily always in the way that you're reading it, right? So yes, obviously if I'm in the positions over here, right, get into the box for the cross, come back in defense, I'm running in the side position, I have James Maddison or Martial up top, I can do an easy cross, shoot it across the net. You can do that, absolutely. That's definitely one of the instructions that you notice in game, especially when you activate it more for a play that really makes those runs. However, get into the box for the cross is not necessarily just for the crosses. It's also for attacking AI to be more aggressive, pushing inside the 18-yard box in general. It doesn't matter. Like sometimes I'll be attacking in the middle position and they'll make that angled run from the side into the middle and try to score an opportunity. Happens a lot of the times, right? When you keep it on default, they do a combination of the 2, right? Sometimes it's stay on the edge of the box to the cross, sometimes it's get into the box, right? Balance will do a combination of the 2, because sometimes having them on the edge of the box for the cross is not a horrible thing depending on your build up, right? Because sometimes if they're on the edge of the box for the cross, not on this instruction, I personally wouldn't use it as it is, right? But if you keep on balance, sometimes if they do that, you can kind of bring the ball back, go into your CDM position, and then push forward afterwards, right? So those are the two instructions you have to look out the most. If you notice that people are attacking your side positions a lot, especially the people that are the R-trigger merchants, right? Comeback and defense could be very ideal if you have a player. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. I had Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son is pretty nice, okay? So having a card like that in those side areas, really good to work with. When I was using Gyu's account, I was like, oh, this Sun card is nice. If I could get him at some point, he'd be pretty sick to work with. He also has the playstyle plus of a finesse, so who knows what that card's like on that left side hitting a finesse. But for this, you could start off balanced. You don't have to touch this, okay? Because sometimes they'll help you defend, sometimes they won't, but they'll offer you attacking support. And then whatever you notice as you're attacking, you'll switch these two accordingly, okay? The rest I wouldn't really touch too much. Interceptions, positioning, freedom. Like, listen, you could do the whole drift wide, free roam, whatever. I just let them do their thing because a lot of times the base mechanics of the card will make them move in certain ways. For instance, I've used James Madison in the cam position, and I've seen him rotate into the side areas, okay, in this game because of the way that the attacking AI works. But if you have really good sided players doing that middle run, who cares? It's good to have that random movement to create opening spaces against the park the bus meta, right? Instructions for your striker, again, leave it on balance for now, and then see what you're noticing the most when you are attacking against people. Because sometimes getting behind guys, it's too linear, right? It's way too linear that you don't really get attacking plays going because they're always making that run behind. You don't have that striker to make the extra shielded block, pass it off, go to the side, and then he makes the run afterwards. Like, it's too linear, always a ton, always running, always running. But there are certain oppositions where you notice like, hey, you know, when I'm going on the counter attack, I'm noticing this guy is kind of like open. Like if I have someone like Erling Haaland who's crazy on that running animation and he's on getting behind, you're good to go, right? So that's how you want to line up these types of tactics and formations, guys. And again, similar situation, right? Balance, direct passing. You don't want to touch too much, man. When you're in the beginning of the game, guys, you don't have crazy full meta cards, okay? You need to play balanced FIFA as much as possible, and you need to be able to congest that middle because that's the thing that people are always going to go for. They always go for those similar patterns of play to score their opportunities, okay? And again, this will go for like any of the formations, right? If you play a 4-2-2-2, again, stay back while attacking for your fullback, stay back while attacking cover center for both of your CDMs, your left attacking mid and your right attacking mid. Those two instructions, come back or get into the box or cross, you will adjust that. And then your strikers, you will see what your players do in game and how your opponent is defending, and then you'll switch it according to that, okay? That's how you want to start off your teams when you first initially play Ultimate Team. At some point into the game, I would say 3-4 weeks into it, you can get a little bit more advanced. Your team is going to be a little bit better. You're going to understand the game mechanics a little bit more, because even though the play style is very similar, it's still different. You have to get used to that different. Like I said, I've used a tactic last year in a draft, and it was horrible because again, you don't have the right types of players, and that meta is a little bit different because of the players you had during that time period. Okay, we're talking about players that have different attacking positioning, different understanding of the attacking AI runs they have to make, and it's all going to be personal preference too, because the way that you see the attacking play and the way that somebody else sees it is going to be different. So don't mess around too much with it. Just line up your team in a way where you could do all the balanced things, and then when your players are moving a certain way, you're like, I kind of need him to do this more, then you switch that accordingly. Okay, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video today. I'll catch you guys for the next one. Okay, peace out, dudes. Love you guys. Okay guys, so what we're going to end up doing is that I'm going to release this full video as it is to give you an idea of how you should start off your Ultimate Team, and then I'm going to make individual videos for these tactics and instructions for these individual formations, so that I can show you guys the types of players you're going to want to have in your team and the way that the team attacks in game from the highlights that we actually collected from playing with those actual formations. So you can kind of see the patterns of play that you may want to use when attacking. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoy this video today. I'll catch you guys for the next videos. Peace out, dudes. I apologize again. I'm sick. I'm going to drink water or take a long break before the 1 o'clock content because we out here. I'll see you guys soon.